So of course you guys know that over the weekend I went to the Million MAGA March or the March for Trump or the Stop the Steal March, whatever name you happen to be calling it, because it has several different names because it was an absolute cluster F behind the scenes. That's a different story for a different day. The important part is that it was awesome. It was amazing. It was hundreds of thousands of people that showed up and had an actual peaceful protest that mysteriously didn't involve any sort of looting or rioting or setting fire to things or pulling down of statues. It was people showing up to stand up for what they believe in, and probably was the most patriotic place to be on the planet for just one single day. And of course we all knew that the media was absolutely going to distort their coverage of this. So I thought a fun exercise would be to just fact check just maybe one or two articles that I happen to see pop up after the march, just to have a balance to this. Now, listen, I'm one person. I obviously didn't see everything that happened at the march, but I really made it my business to see as much of it as I possibly could. I was running around everywhere trying to get a sense of what was happening, talking to lots of different people. I actually took a lot of video of the march. I saw an awful lot, and I feel like I've got a pretty good sense of the things that have happened. Definitely far better than CNN does. So we're going to read this article and I'm going to offer my perspective on what they got right and what they got absolutely wrong. But before we get into that, folks, I do daily content on this channel. Well, almost daily. Every once in a while I take a break, but around news and politics and culture and really whatever I find interesting, stories that I believe need to be elevated and told to a different audience or have a different perspective to them. If you enjoy the content that I'm putting out, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this video, hitting that little red subscribe button that's down there somewhere, double checking to make sure you're still subscribed in case YouTube made that decision for you. And if you want another place where you can enjoy all of my videos ad-free without giving money to YouTube to get there, you can join my Locals community. Locals is awesome. It is social media for adults. I've got a great little community going. We've got about a little over 4,000 people in it right now, which is awesome. It's a nice manageable size, but we always want to grow, always want to have more people that want to have genuine adult conversations about what's going on in the world. You can join for free to get an idea of what it's like at kb.locals.com. The information is also right down there, so you can go ahead and check that out. All right, let's read this article. Now, the first thing I want to say, and I'll link this article in the description below, I'm not going to play the video coverage from Sarah Snyder because it's insane. It's insane. Sarah Snyder, first of all, she said that there were only like 8,000 to 10,000 people there. That is a flat lie. That is a flat out lie. She was reporting around noon, which meant there were already hundreds of thousands of people there, so she's flat lying. She also interviewed a lady in the crowd, and I was so proud of this lady because this lady was not buying Sarah Snyder's BS, because here's what happened. So Sarah Snyder was trying to fact check an average person in the crowd by basically telling this person that she was lying. And the lady that she interviewed, she was like, well, we don't really believe you anyway. You are not where we get our news from. She pushed back on it. She was like, even Sarah Snyder stepped away, and you could still hear the lady yelling at her in the background, which is exactly the right thing to do anytime you're interviewed by CNN. So we know we can't trust Sarah for anything moving forward. Absolute derangement, should not be acting as a reporter in any way, shape, or form. Go watch that video yourself if you don't believe me. But let's jump into the article. And I actually haven't read this fully yet. I kind of scanned it when I originally posted it right after it came out, but I haven't fully read it yet. So this is going to be a little bit of a true reaction video. Anti-Trump protesters clashed with supporters of the president and law enforcement Saturday evening in the nation's capital as they tried to make their way to a hotel where Trump supporters were staying. Okay, so first of all, why is that your headline? The headline should be, hundreds of thousands of people show up for pro-Trump march. Let's actually look at the title. MAGA March brings together Trump voters, far-right leaders, and counter-protesters, ending in some clashes. And the very first thing they talk about is the anti-Trump violence that happened afterwards, which is absolutely something they should be reporting on. But that's not the lead, man. That is not the lead. It is so hard to get the right to come out and protest and rally. I know, I've been trying to do it for months, and the answer we always get is, Carlin, we don't do that. We show up and vote. And now, of course, we know that that is not good enough. So it's incredibly hard to get the right to come out, and it is a big deal that hundreds of thousands of people showed up in DC on Saturday. At least 20 people were arrested, blah, 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 whatever. The skirmishes came after a day of largely peaceful demonstrations by thousands of President Donald Trump's supporters of all stripes, including right-wing and far-right groups to protest the election. Okay, so you notice they said thousands, not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, which is much more accurate. I mean, look at that picture, folks. This was all the way up and down Pennsylvania Avenue. It was for blocks and blocks and blocks, just seas of people. There were a lot of people there. I've actually heard I've heard estimates anywhere. I've heard 300,000. I've heard 500,000. Someone said 1 million. I think 1 million might be a little bit high, but I definitely think there were at bare minimum 300,000 people. Absolutely. The other thing I want to say too is, of course, like everyone, right-wing and far right-wing groups, were they there? Were the Proud Boys there? Absolutely, the Proud Boys were there. Absolutely. I mean, there was definitely a contingent of them, and frankly, thank God for it, because this might not be a popular opinion, I don't really care. I felt much safer with them there. I was actually around some of the counter-protesters earlier in the day, and the Proud Boys were constantly watching them and keeping an eye on them. So I felt much safer with them there because, frankly, the police weren't doing their job in protecting Trump supporters. The police were actually sending Trump supporters through the counter-protesters instead of protecting them. So I will take what I can get insofar as, not getting the crap beat out of me when I'm peacefully protesting. Smaller groups of counter-demonstrators showed up or gathered downtown and near the Supreme Court in support of President-elect Joe Biden's electoral victory, which the president has falsely described as fraudulent. Of course, they're using this article as a chance. Again, they're not actually reporting on what happened. This is basically propaganda. This is propaganda right in front of us. It's like, oh, you silly Trump supporters, you've been lied to and you're in a cult, and we, CNN, have to correct the narrative. I mean, okay, so first of all, I actually didn't see anyone. No, actually, that's not true. That's not true. I saw one Biden person. I saw one Biden flag the entire day. That was all I saw. There were no groups that showed up to support Joe Biden. There were only groups that were showing up to oppose Donald Trump. And those are two different things. We all know in this election, people did not vote for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. And so were people there supporting Joe Biden? One person that I saw with a Biden flag. One. Compared to 300,000 at least of Trump supporters. Many groups that attended the planned rallies have distinct core beliefs, but on Saturday they were united in their unwavering support of the president. And okay, now what's going to happen is they're going to bring in the groups that they perceive as the most extreme right-wing groups, completely ignoring the hundreds of thousands of average people that don't have affiliations with those groups at all whatsoever, because we have to focus in on who we think are the real bad guys. Those are the only people we ever report on, not average everyday Americans who have showed up to express their beliefs, some of them traveling a long way, some of them spending a lot of money to be there, just for one day to stand up and say, I believe in the president and I'm going to support him. They never get reported on by CNN. And frankly, that really ticks me off. These people, I've talked about this before on my channel. Like, I've always been a sucker for an underdog. And Trump supporters, so far as I'm concerned, are the ultimate underdog. They get the S end of the stick every single time. And these are good people. They don't deserve it. Most of them are just like average everyday people. They're wholesome people. They believe in the family. A lot of them are very religious. They're very nice. Like, there's nothing wrong with these people, and yet they've been told for years and years and years that they're Nazis, that they're the worst of the worst. I don't agree with them on everything, but this is not right. And places like CNN are only continuing to facilitate this lie, and that has disqualified them as any credible source so far as I'm concerned. They've alienated 72 million people, acting like they don't matter, like their voices shouldn't be heard, like their opinions are stupid, that they've been brainwashed by a cult. It is so unbelievably irresponsible for people with this large of a platform that can influence so broadly. They're behaving absolutely irresponsibly. Anyway, I digress. Let's keep going. Many groups that attended the planned rallies had distinct core beliefs, but on Saturday were united in their unwavering support of the president. They included anti-government groups, Yep, told ya. Such as the Oath Keepers, far-right groups such as the Proud Boys, and the 3%ers conspiracy theorists such as Alex Jones, and Republican members of Congress. I was actually very sad that I did not get to meet Alex Jones. I really was. I was hoping for it. It sadly didn't happen. Maybe someday in the future, who knows? And by the way, like, I'm actually not like a fan of his. I just think he's like an interesting person. I don't watch him at all. I don't really even know that much about him other than he's been banned on everything. But those people are just fascinating. I mean, at least they're interesting. They're not duds to talk to. At least they have ideas. I might not agree with their ideas. I might not support their ideas. But, you know, at least they're doing something. And I think that that's worth thinking about. Word of at least three different pro-Trump events circulated on social media in recent days. Stop the Steal, March for Trump, and Million MAGA March. Throngs began pouring into Freedom Plaza just east of the White House hours before the noontime events. That's actually true. The groups actually started congregating. I mean, at least by 9 a.m., people were already out there and congregating. I know because I saw it. I was waiting outside the hotel for food to get delivered that never came. And, you know, eventually when I realized my food wasn't getting there, I just bagged it and went over early. People were starting to amass very, very early in the day. So that's actually true. Congratulations, CNN. You got one paragraph right. Organizers for the March to the Trump event, which obtained the permit for the rally, did not respond to CNN's request for comment. Well, that it was a giant cluster F behind the scenes, so it doesn't surprise me at all that they didn't respond. Trump took notice of the gatherings and tweeted on Friday that he might make an appearance. Before Saturday's rallies, the president's motorcade passed cheering and waving supporters on his way to a golf outing. I mean, I just missed it when I showed up. That's a completely true paragraph. Trump did show up. He drove around. People were so excited. Mainstream conservative voices and elected officials, such as Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona and Rep. Mark Kelly of Pennsylvania, were advertised as speakers for the March for Trump event. The Million MAGA March announced its notable attendees would include conspiracy theorists and others like podcaster Nick Fuentes, who participated in the Charlottesville Unite, and Mike Cernovich, who pushed the I didn't know Mike I didn't see Mike Cernovich there. Nick Fuentes was definitely there. Can I just go on record and say, like, I cannot stand that kid or his supporters. I mean, listen, here's all I need to know about that whole little thing. I know that they screamed slurs at Lady MAGA, and that's not okay with me, man. Like, no. I have no use for people like that, but sadly, I mean, listen, there are crackpots at these things, and guess what, guys? When you have protests for things on the left, there are crackpots there too. There are crackpots on both sides. Like, you know, it's not just the domain of the right or the left. There are crazy people in the world that you don't believe in, and I don't actually believe that Nick Fuentes was featured at the rally, though. I mean, my impression of it was that he had his little gang and they were kind of like off on a hill somewhere, but they weren't actually featured as a part of the main event. I could be wrong. And again, I don't remember Mike Cernovich being there. I could be wrong about that, but I didn't see him. Leadership and members of the Proud Boys, a far-right group that Trump asked to stand back and stand by during his first of two presidential debates, were also in attendance. True, Proud Boys were definitely there. Ben Hovland, a senior federal election security official appointed by Trump, has called the president's accusations of rigged elections insulting and laughable. You know, isn't it funny, CNN, that actually has nothing to do with the march? Literally nothing to do with the march. Nothing to do with it. Why is it in the story? Don't you guys know how to practice journalism? Obviously not. Well, there had been warnings of potential violence. The daytime activities were mostly peaceful without major incidents. No one on the right is surprised by this. The right is not violent. When there is violence, it comes from the left, which is exactly what we saw that night, last Saturday night in Washington, D.C. To those who have been tracking far-right and extremist groups for years, Saturday's rally illustrates the thinning of the line between the mainstream right and far-right extremists. No, it doesn't at all. It's notice they provide absolutely no evidence to back that up. If let's play in the land of make-believe that CNN is obviously existing in for a minute. If this represents a thinning of the line, then wouldn't there have been violence? Wouldn't it not have been a peaceful protest? Wouldn't the right have been responsible for the violence instead of the left, which was actually responsible for violence? I think so. But of course, CNN will never, ever report the truth, ever. So whatever. You aren't providing any evidence, CNN. You're making statements that you can't back up. Oren Segal, vice president for the Anti-Defamation League Center on Extremism, oh, I'm sure this is going to be good, said he expected the vast majority of participants to be there solely to show their support for Trump, but the event was an opportunity for extremists to mingle with that demographic. Well, golly gee, isn't it the same on the left, where you have absolute crackpot nutjobs communists and Antifa mingling with everyday people who are following Black Lives Matter because they're trying to do the right thing? I think so. And by the way, why aren't they actually interviewing anyone from the right in this story? They're only featuring people in this story that don't believe in the march or anything. Like, why haven't they actually interviewed anyone from the march in this story? Any just like average people, any people that support Trump? Seems to me they had lots of options for people they could have interviewed in this story other than people who are downright Trump deranged. There's a platform there. There are pro-Trump supporters and conservatives and people who want to express their support for this president who are mingling, if you will, with extremists. Oh my God. It's as though, guys. It's as though people can't be responsible for assessing different ideas and deciding which ones they agree with and which ones they don't. Just because you happen to be at the same march with 300,000 other people doesn't mean you automatically flip your ideas because one other person there, one out of 300,000 people at least, at minimum, has far-right views. Who really cares? Guess what? There are also people with far-left views. There's Antifa was there. Antifa was there all flipping day. Antifa was outside the Supreme Court. Now, Antifa was mingling with the Trump supporters. Did the Trump supporters instantly convert to Antifa? No, because it doesn't work that way, and it doesn't work with extremists on the right either. Just as misinformation about the elections made its way from the fringe platforms into Twitter feeds of the president's inner circle. No, dude. Fringe platforms, please. Anyone with eyes had questions. I still have questions. Segal feared that Saturday's march would have been a physical manifestation spreading not only wrong information, but hateful extremist rhetoric. There was no hateful extremist rhetoric spread from the right that I heard, except maybe from like the Nick Fuentes and that ilk. But I didn't hear anything of that I would consider hateful extremist rhetoric. And it doesn't even seem that this person that they interviewed was at the march. So how the F would they know? The fact that this sort of space is attracting those who buy into this idea that something is being stolen and taken away, the extremists may be adjacent to them, but is more of a concern broadly of the normalization of extremists and of what could happen when you get a bunch of people together who are upset. There was no violence at the rally. There was no looting. There was no rioting. And this is directly contradictory to what we've seen on the left for months when the media has apologized for the like, oh, they're just angry. They're burning down entire cities because they're angry. They have a right to their anger. They have a right to express their anger. Don't tone police them. This is what we've been hearing on the left for months from the media. The right shows up, 300,000 of them. Some of them actually really angry. Yeah, some of them were. Did they burn anything down? Did they hurt anyone? No, they were the ones who were targeted by far-left extremists that, of course, CNN didn't cover. And it's not as though they didn't have the opportunity, because this article was published, or at least updated, on Sunday, November 15th at 10:30 a.m. when the violence took place the night before. They even let off the dang article with anti-Trump protesters clashed with supporters of the president and law enforcement on Saturday evening. Did they follow any of that up? No, because they're liars and they're only interested in advancing their agenda. So CNN fact check, false CNN, and I have just as much credibility as any fact checker because I was actually flipping there. All right, guys, that's all I've got for this video. I'll see you soon.